This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network and Williams Broadcasting and Rob's Really Mean Lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show, a show all about the thrill of Rob's victories.
Dallas 27, San Francisco 21. The upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from the Super Bowl. 3rd and 3. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. White Clark is 6'4". He stands about 10 feet tall in this crowd's estimation.
And the agony of Steve's defeats.
3 and 2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
But mostly, it's about sports and nothing but sports.
Onside kick to start the second half. And the ball bounces off the hands of a Colt. And it looked like the Saints had it for a second. And it's Saints football. They recover the onside kick. The start to the second half. Really unbelievable decision.
And now, the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Here we go. It's Thursday. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can always catch us anytime at theradnetwork.com. It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show. Email us RAS at theradnetwork.com. And the initial predictions was today, a week from today, would be the day we would sit here and we'd just nosh over the NFL schedule because it would have come out a week from yesterday. That was the idea. And we heard there might be delays because they've made no official announcement that we'll get the schedule next week. There might be delays because of this 5-game TV package that's out there and the night Christmas game, etc. And there's this rumor floating around that literally they might be waiting for Aaron Rodgers to figure out what he's doing because if he ain't coming back to the Steelers, they don't get a primetime game. But if he does, he might warrant, depending on it's like and Steve, I think you said, please tell me the league isn't holding up an entire schedule because of Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
I'd hate to think they are. I can't even go there.
Who will know? If things play out, we're never really going to know. Because the news of the day, is that quarterback Aaron Rodgers is visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the initial reporting was he is expected to sign with the Steelers this weekend. That is still the reporting, but more little things have trickled out. So before I go to that, the thing with the schedule is, well, if they do the schedule next Wednesday, it's easy to say, oh, well, they were able to throw it together because, Rodgers made it clear he was coming back. It's also possible they were always going to do it on Wednesday. We're never going to know if there was a tie-in. So there is no deal in place between Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, according to multiple reports. It started locally in Pittsburgh. On the Steelers radio network. It was picked up by Ian Rappaport, who is confirming everything as well. He says that Aaron, now of course, okay, remember the Steelers tried to flex a week ago or whatever, where they gave Aaron Rodgers the tender that puts on the table a 1-year deal at an increase of 10% over last year's salary of $13.5 million, so he'd get $15 million for another season, but it also gave the Steelers protection of you can't just go out and sign with another team. All these rumblings started about would it be the Cardinals, and that story was still sitting there as of really last night. I was reading about it, but then started these rumblings of no, Aaron Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh. Now, the whole time, everybody said this isn't about money. And whenever anybody tells you it's not about money, it's about money, usually. And even though every story has been, look, Aaron Rodgers, he's got all the money he needs. This is about does he want to play, etc. It's about money. All the reporting is that the sticking point for Aaron Rodgers is about money. Now, I don't know how long this has been a sticking point. When did he tell them he wanted to come back? How long have they been going back and forth? The two sides have kicked around numbers according to reports. But the point is being made. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be flying to Pittsburgh if they didn't think they were close enough, because everybody knows it. Nobody's hiding it. The other wrinkle in this is that Mark Kaboli, the Steelers correspondent locally, reports the Steelers were not aware that Rodgers was even coming to town until it was reported yesterday. That's everything we know as of right this minute.
How would the Steelers not know if this was real? I mean, hey, Rob, look, I'm coming to Sacramento. I'm going to give you the heads up. We're going to meet on this, but I'm not going to just show up at your office and say, hey, let's talk about this. I don't. This story continues to just get stranger and stranger all the time. I as you said, whenever they say it's not about money, it's about money. But how do both sides not even have I mean, is Aaron Rodgers asking 40 million? The Steelers are offering 15, so we're not even close. And if that's the case, the Steelers would have walked away a long time ago. And if Aaron Rodgers didn't even make it clear what he's looking at to come back, then that's on his camp. And again, the Steelers should have moved on long ago.
Yeah, they weren't though. They weren't going to. I mean, it is. There's a lot. You're right. The story does get more weirder and more weirder. This the the idea that Aaron Rodgers is in or is about to be in Pittsburgh. I don't have the exact confirmation on that. When did the Steelers find out? And why, knowing it's going to get out, everybody's going to know. I don't even know if Rodgers himself leaked the story, but it got out. So it wouldn't be a case of Aaron Rodgers thought he could just show up at the Steelers facility. They were going to find out. And if they're so far off money that it takes a personal meeting, that is backwards. The reporting's right. Usually you would only have the personal meeting when you were oh so close, when it was a couple little things or a couple little zeros or deferment or signing bonuses. But now Aaron Rodgers, what are we supposed to believe? He's charging in saying, we're going to lock ourselves in a room before we get this deal done. It does get more and more strange. It makes less and less sense. And it's getting more and more annoying by the second.
And the problem I have with it most of all is I've always viewed the Steelers as a class organization, one of those organizations with their storied history, everything they've done in the last, 50 years. This is an organization you want to be a part of. And again, Aaron Rodgers seems to be holding another NFL franchise hostage. And I don't understand it. If he was 27, 28 in his prime, I'd say, okay, look, you got to do whatever you can because you got to keep Aaron Rodgers. But he hasn't performed well on the field since what, 2021, maybe 2022. We're going on 4 years now that he hasn't been an impact quarterback in any way.
I can't get past two. When did the money come up? When did it become an issue? Because it would only become an issue the minute Aaron Rodgers said, well, I'm going to come back, or I'm leaning towards coming back. Or it became an issue when the Steelers said, here's your tender, which means this is what you're going to make money. And Aaron went, whoa, I've always been thinking if I came back, I'd be a $40 million guy. Those are the only ways I see that it becomes an issue. Then you get this weird Cardinal story. And was this Aaron Rodgers' way of picking up the phone, going, "Hey, you see, more and more people are saying I'm heading to the Cardinals. Should we just iron this out?" It's a wild story for a guy who's completely out of his prime on a team that, if they're lucky, will do what they did last year: get to the first round of the playoffs and get their ass kicked. And I think that's if they're lucky. But I can't believe I can believe that we're still here. And the more that the reporting comes, so when I saw the story this morning, I thought, okay, it's over today. He's signing. But now the more and more that trickles out, it's like, no, they've got a ways to go for this whole thing.
I'm so tired of it. I don't understand why the Steelers allow this to go on. They watched it blow up in New York. It's like 2.0. We already saw the disaster there. It's happening here. Move on.
I mentioned that there's this rumor, and that it remains a rumor. It probably always will be. That one of the things that may be delaying the release of the NFL schedule was whether or not Aaron Rodgers would play and the Steelers would warrant a primetime game. You know, you got your primetime games. Thursday night football doesn't feel to a lot of us like primetime, but it is. It's a standalone game. Monday night, Sunday night, and then you get the holidays and things like that. And who gets the primetime games, et cetera. And so, well, if Aaron Rodgers plays, maybe we got to put the Steelers in somewhere. We don't know that the schedule has been delayed. We don't even know when it was ever scheduled for. We all think it was next Wednesday, the 13th. We'll see. But as we all sit around having to make up stories, NFL.com posted a story. I don't have the writer's name because they allow anybody to write. Just write about the league. We don't care. And his take was the 5 teams that deserve fewer primetime games this year. Now, the only problem I have with that is he's going with fewer because it's easy to take some teams that had way too many last year and are clearly going to suck and say few, where the list should just be the 5 teams that don't deserve to be on prime time. And it's kind of close. It is kind of, I only really disagree with one of them. See what you think, Steve. No particular order. Atlanta Falcons. I think he did in alphabetical order, maybe. He said that even with new coach Kevin Stefanski aboard, the Falcons hardly qualify as must-see TV. Ooh, a competition between Penix and Tua won't move the needle. They have a stagnant roster. The Panthers and Saints are showing signs of growth. I'm okay with the Falcons not being a primetime team.
I struggle with that a little bit because I'm not ready to bury them in their division. I think they still have a shot if Penix recovers and becomes the quarterback that at times he showed, you know, in his rookie season. They can be a really good team. I think anyone can win that division. Are you going to penalize the Saints? Because I'd rather watch the Falcons play than the Saints on primetime TV.
Yeah, and I think that would still be the argument, is that the only team probably this guy thinks should go is the Buccaneers. But you make a case for the Falcons. But if you're going to put the Falcons on prime time, put them against a bigger team, another team that could, you know, if you're looking at it for like I don't care about the NFL's ratings. I care about it as a fan. This is the game. You want the game, the only game, because you have no choices. You want it to be a good matchup. You want it to be something that's worth seeing, or you want it to be compelling. And I'm not sure that the Falcons are.
They are if they're playing the Cowboys. People will turn in for that game, and on the schedule, just put the Falcons Cowboys game on.
Yes. However, I mean, if we went through the whole list, we might go. I mean, if we were really doing the list in reverse order, which 5 teams shouldn't belong in prime time, I don't know if the Falcons would make it or not.
I think you take the Falcons and you just find a nationally popular team, which is going to draw the audience in, even though it's a bad game, and with high hopes that's never going to produce up to the fans' expectations or the media's expectations, which is why the Cowboys fit perfectly. Put them up against the Steelers, another team that people think are going to be really good, have the big following. So, you know, you find a team like one of those two that's on their schedule, and if you're going to put a primetime game, that's where you go. You don't go put the Falcons playing, you know, the Panthers or the Falcons playing the Cleveland Browns. Then you have no interest in the game at all.
Well, I should point out, by the way, the NFL did drop years ago their mandate that every team gets scheduled for at least one primetime game. So that's how you can get an article like this. 5 teams that should never be on because they don't have to. Nobody has to be on. So the NFL could roll out a whole bunch of standalone games. Similarly, the question with the Falcons, if you're sitting around as a fan, is do the Falcons need to be on at all? Do they need to take up one of my nights? And I'm not sure that they do. Sure, if they do take up one of my nights, I hope it's against a compelling opponent because of the other team or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. You know, a team I definitely would rather see than the Falcons, just off the top of my head, in prime time this year is the Raiders, because I want to see what they're all about. I want to see this Mendoza guy, you know, later in the season. At least give him 1 or 2. Way over the Falcons. I would rather see the Raiders 1 or 2 times than the Falcons in prime time.
I would like to see the Raiders once, and I don't know who else is on your list, and I'm curious who, you know, I'm going to kick out or kick onto the list and put the Falcons out.
Yeah, that's fair. Like I said, he just gave us 5, this clown at NFL.com, and there's only one that I went, no. Like looking at it and voting, I didn't do that. So after the Falcons, though, the next on their list, the Dolphins, a season that'll clearly be spent toiling and tweaking before they can be anything that has any level of credentials. I looked. I'm like, yeah, the Dolphins don't need prime time.
I'm not going to disagree with that right now.
All right, because they got to make the schedule now. You can always flex later. You can always flex week 14 if the Dolphins are suddenly 12-2. We can flex them in somewhere. Cardinals, they also don't need a primetime game, says NFL.com. Not the NFL, but the writer. Since getting rid of the mandate that you have to have, the every team on, the Cardinals have not been on much. And that could be in big trouble this year. They had 2 primetime appointments last year. But again, his premise is they deserve fewer primetime games. I don't know if the Cardinals deserve any, especially right now. Jacoby Brissett, and he's not even showing up. What's the compelling thing? We're not going to tune in for Jeremiah Love on a national scale.
No, right now the Cardinals don't deserve. But I've come up with 5 teams without it being the Falcons, so I'm curious to hear who else you have.
Okay. 2 more. I agree with this one. The Jets. Mm-hmm. Enough said. They don't need to be on. The one that was on the list that I went, no, you can't say when you make the schedule they shouldn't get a primetime game. Maybe you do it early and then hope for a flex if you need it. I don't think you deserve to put on the list the Commanders. Because we're all waiting for Jaden Daniels come back. I wouldn't put him on the no primetime list. I thought that was stupid.
But. Wow. I have in my no primetime list the Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the Tennessee Titans, the Arizona Cardinals, and I'd put the Saints on there before I'd put the Falcons.
And the only one that I would even want to have a discussion about would be the Titans. And I'm not saying it would be an argument. It's just, I'm high on the Titans this year. I think they might be okay. If we go through the this or that thing, I'd rather see the Titans in primetime than the Falcons. The rest of your list is great. I don't disagree with any of
it. And keep in mind, I didn't have the Dolphins in there, so I mean, I could see the Dolphins in there, but
Commanders,
right? The Commanders. I mean, they were really good 2 seasons ago. Go to the NFC Championship game and you're burying them in a ditch somewhere. That's crazy. Daniels is an unbelievable quarterback. I think the Commanders rebound. The Jets are hopeless. The Cardinals are hopeless. I'll give you those 2. I do want the Raiders because I want to see what Mendoza does. I don't need to see him more than 1 game. Actually, where I live, I'll see him a lot more than 1 game. But for the national audience, you don't need to see him a whole lot more. The Dolphins, I'll give you. The Titans are just so boring. And I know you're rooting for them with their coach and all that, but the Titans, like the Saints, there is nothing exciting about watching either of those teams on. Cam Ward, and I could miss on this, and this may come back to bite me down the road. Cam Ward last year, to me, was the biggest quarterback who appeared to have no clue what he was doing on the field and running that offense. He looked entirely lost for most of the year. And I'm not even getting to the Cleveland Browns, which I don't want to watch them on TV either.
No,
although they do have the all-pro quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. So I guess you have to give, when you have an all-pro quarterback, you have to give him some TV time.
Even if he's riding the bench, all reporting is he'll be the backup.
Well, Deshaun Watson must watch TV.
This is semi-breaking rumor. Can't call it semi-breaking news. We told you yesterday the NFL Referees Association is set to vote today on a collective bargaining agreement. And this would be we're not going to use replacement refs thing. The NFL has already called up a bunch from college. They've been training them, gave them some guaranteed money. They kept flexing, pushing against the refs. Is it about the money? Is it about technology? We were told yesterday, this was all rumor, all unsubstantiated, that the deal, the CBA as being voted on, would not include what the owners said it would back in February or early March at the owners meeting, the ability of New York, the league officials, to chime in on something that the refs miss on a field in all games. Owners said we want that. Reporting yesterday was that it wouldn't be included in the CBA that the refs are voting on. I have not read this yet, so I'm not building you up to something here. Some details of what's in the proposal have leaked, says this is profootballtalk.com. Jody Batista of NFL Media says the proposal includes a new training program for officials. The program would include work at mini camps, training camps, and joint practices ahead of each season, and would also include increased league access to officials during the offseason. Okay. In addition, the proposal also calls for the development of a bench of officials beyond the ones assigned to regular crews. These items are what Batista characterizes, that's the reporter, as a commitment by the game officials and the league to improve performance and increase accountability in the future. If the refs agree to ratify the agreement, some of these initiatives can get underway and the prospect of replacement officials this fall can be discarded. So really, there's not much there, really. What is this?
I think the bench officials, I kind of like that. Look, we're going to increase, we're going to give you bigger numbers. It helps your union, it helps everything else out. But I'm only going to do that if you allow me to bench, like physically bench officials that are not meeting the minimum requirements. If you are doing a bad job, then I need the ability to pull you out, give you additional training, and let you sit until it's ready to put you back in. I'd be fine with that part.
And it sounds like something kind of sort of like that might be in there. No leaks on the really big things, the money, the technology, etc. Who knows how soon we'll know some of those details, but they are supposed to vote today. The refs are.
I'm going to be so disappointed if they pull out the technology. They want 10%. I don't care what kind of pay raise they get. The only thing, two things in there that I want to see is the technology advancement and the ability to hold the refs accountable for being bad refs. As long as those two things stay, I'm fine with anything else they go with.
We've been following the report too of what are we doing with Travis Hunter? Conflicting reports over the offseason. Of course, he got hurt last year. Will he play both sides of the ball this season? Some said barely. Some said, twist up the number of plays on whether he's going to do offense, defense. GM James Gladstone at one point made it sound like Travis Hunter would play barely any offense. And Travis Hunter came out and said, huh? Scusi? News to me. As of this morning, Gladstone said that Travis Hunter will continue to see action at wide receiver and cornerback. He is set to play both sides of the ball. He did point out, Gladstone did, that last year it was at a higher volume, higher percentage of wide receiver usage than it was corner. And he said, quote, I think we can expect to see that corner percentile and count go up, which is not to say anything impacts his availability and usage on offense. Okay, so they're either going to run him into the ground by playing him in twice as many offensive snaps, or they're just saying they're going to even it up or something. But either way, he gets to play both offense and defense, allegedly.
And my question is, because I don't remember who said it. Was it the head coach or was it the GM that came out like 6 weeks? It was the GM who said he's not going to play as much on offense. It's going to focus more on defense. And now he's backtracked that. Why? And if you look at the Jaguars' moves in the offseason, they really strengthened and built their receiver room, which now I find it more difficult for Travis Hunter to be an everyday down on wide receiver. So while he might say that, to me, he's a third or a fourth wide receiver option. And if you were planning on playing a full-time wide receiver, which I don't believe he was, because what he said during the offseason, then why did you spend that money and build that wide receiver room to have the depth that it has? And now you're squeezing Travis Hunter out because you're trying to make him a deep back, but you're trying to say the right things so he and his agent don't become too upset. Another strange story, because everything said he's going to be a full-time deep back, because that is a weakness on this franchise.
So we've been talking too about these prediction markets a lot lately, Kalshi and Poly Market. Those are the two big ones. They go from everything to politics down to sports. We focus on the sports angle and the idea where you can vote on things that are going to happen. Prediction markets. It doesn't have to be a sports book is laying down a line. It gets a lot of press in the news side because, we're going to bomb Iran tomorrow. And then it happens. Well, where did that information come from? Insider trading, how much access, how much security? This is all being litigated through the courts, and Steve trying to keep his brain from exploding every time that we talk about it. The thing that and there's Is there a conflict of interest involved with Donald Trump Jr.'s on both boards? The federal government says we want to have control over the prediction markets as opposed to the states who are getting involved, especially with sports, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So you can just predict stuff. Here's what's going to happen. And we've mentioned some of the follies that are in this, of where you don't even have to be like an inside trader in the traditional sense of, I happen to be the water boy for this football team, and I just overheard the trainer say that Ant isn't going to be able to play tomorrow. And then he has that inside information and he gives it out to everybody. Well, there's also examples like in the entertainment world I've used before. You can bet on certain things that comedian John Oliver will say on his Sunday night HBO show. Problem is they film it Saturday. So if you get a ticket and you watch what John Oliver says, and there's a bet of will he say this phrase, will he make fun of Clarence Thomas, and you were there, you know. So there's a lot of discrepancies within the market. These prediction markets, you can bet literally on anything. Now, this is an ick, but it's also one of those stories where it's like, okay, is there anything to this? This is the way I'm framing this one. Is there anything to this story? Is this any type of insider training? Is this inside information leaking out? Or is it just what we do? We're just gossiping. Because on Kalshi, 5 days ago, Mike Vrabel had a near 80% chance to be the coach of the Patriots week 1 of this season. It has plummeted to 64% in less than 1 day. It was 80%. It went down to 64% last night after TMZ reported that Vrabel and NFL reporter Diana Rossini rented a boat in Tennessee during June of 2021 when she was pregnant. So now it's like this is looking like this has been going on much longer than they were at this Arizona resort, et cetera. And it brings us back to that question, Steve, that we talked about in terms of getting this to sports. A lot of people are saying that the TMZ report last night shows there's a lot more to this story and that these nuggets might keep dropping. And we have to get back to the question of, does Vrabel ultimately have to resign because he doesn't want to be a distraction? We had this question last week, right? The Kraft family, very, very loyal. Is there a point at which they or whoever pulls Vrabel into a room, or Vrabel himself to save his marriage says, I got to step away? And is this this is what bothers me about these prediction markets, because I live in a different world than you do. Now I'm going, are these just a couple of clowns who, hey, that's fun? Or is this inside information? Like, we know they're talking about this in New England.
This story, I do not understand. I don't understand this. So what? Sit down and release every date they've ever had, every time they've hooked up in their entire lives. It doesn't change the fact he had an extramarital affair. We all know this. People do it all the time. I'm not saying it's right, but if you were to sit here and say any person, male or female, who has an extramarital affair is to be is terminated from their job because they couldn't. Who's the moral police on this? He hasn't done anything. And where you can, and I've seen people make the comparison, like Moore with Michigan. Those were with people who worked underneath them and for the same company, same department, same university. There's a big difference with me having an affair with an employee who works for me versus me having an affair with somebody that I met who doesn't work for the company I work for or anything like that. I mean, it's like, what? I'm a bartender and I have an affair with another bartender at a different bar in another city, and now suddenly I should be fired from I don't understand this. I don't care if everything falls, as long as there isn't anything, that has to do with the job. He cheated on his wife. What's the big deal? I don't understand. And I'm going to go with Kalshi on this one. If they're going to take betting on everything and include this, why don't they have, up to my knowledge, will Kalshi win their court battle over this in the Supreme Court? Will Kalshi be able to continue doing this, or will the Supreme Court rule for the states? And if you're not going to offer that, because they do have skin in that game, if they're not going to offer that, why are they offering, and again, all of these other things, and I get it, but where's that one? We're going to offer everything. I want to see that one posted.
On the on the Vrabel thing, and I know we both even hate talking about this story. It would the counter argument as I see it to what you said that I've heard would be, yeah, but she does work in the industry, and was he giving her access? Was he giving her information? And then you add in now, and this is why apparently all these odds dropped last night. Now it's starting to sound like this was a multi-year kind of thing that had been going on for years. And does that make it more impalatable for the Patriot players, fans, brass, which is how it gets back to, would Vrabel have to resign as a result of all of this? And that's just part of how society views stuff, I guess.
I don't buy any of that. So what? If it's a 2-year affair, it's okay. If it's a 10-year affair, it's not. It just depends on how long. And how does she get inside information? Anything she reports is from inside information. So we're only going to fire him because he leaked it to her, because that's her job. But we're not going to fire every other person who's ever leaked information with her. So he gets fired because he happens to have an affair with her, and everybody else can leak it, and it's okay. I don't get it. Go into the locker room of the Patriots and say, hey, look, I'm not looking for a show of hands here. But if ever any of you have ever slept around on your wife, I mean, should we cut you right now and just say you can't play football anymore? Which is why I gave the scenarios, me a bartender in one town, her a bartender. Yes, we work in the same industry, but we don't work together. I think that's a big part here, that everybody's trying to just, oh my gosh, he did this. Let's get this cancel culture is ridiculous.
And again, all indications are and were the Patriots are fully good with Vrabel. Just ride this out. The reason this became a story again last night are these new pictures. Will they keep dropping these things? Will it get exhausting, or will everybody just let this go away, basically? So that's there's been, as far as I know, no comment from the Patriots to change anything that they've said. One other note here, you've got to be thrilled about this one too, Steve. Former NFL quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Manziel started A&M, first-round NFL pick of the Browns, lasted 2 years in the NFL, played in another league. Now he's going to try boxing. Johnny Manziel will step into a boxing ring May 23rd. What is that, like 3 weeks? At the UFC Apex in Las Vegas to face social media influencer Bob Menery. Oh, this is to be taken seriously. The fight will be promoted by kick streamer Aiden Ross Brand Risk Promotions, known for pitting celebrities against content creators in boxing matches. Is this just the cartoon show it sounds like to me?
It is a cartoon show. I would have been much more excited if you had said that Johnny Manziel was challenging the college football eligibility, and I don't know if he has another year, and he's coming in to sign with Texas Tech to become their quarterback. I would be far more interested in that.
I agree. I couldn't care less about
Rob and
this.
Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040, Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
You know those guys you see in a sports bar laughing and enjoying each other and just talking sports? That's this. Back to the Rob and Steve Show. Email them, ras@theradnetwork.com.
I don't want to spend any more time on this than we have to, which we already have, but since we have talked about it so much, Steve, I did want to go back because we both had the same reaction to this idea that Johnny Manziel, the Heisman Trophy winner and 2-year NFL player, going into boxing is a clown show. So it's at something called the UFC Apex in Vegas. Is this, because what we've talked about before is like with this Pacquiao, Mayweather fight and such. What is this? Is this a boxing match? Is this an exhibition? What is this?
I would think it's an exhibition.
Okay.
I mean, maybe they're going to call it a boxing match. They can do anything they want. I don't believe it's going to be sanctioned, and I find it difficult to believe we're going to be offering odds on it.
I don't know what. Especially, it's going to be in 3 weeks. I don't know what's going on there. All right, baseball. We talked yesterday about Framber Valdez and his decision to drill Trevor Story in the back after a pair of Red Sox homers. Major League Baseball spoke yesterday and said, well, that'll get you a 6-game suspension. Now, Valdez, he was in a bad mood. He'd been tagged for 10 runs, 7 earned, and so he drilled Story right between the numbers, bench clearing incident. Even A.J. Hinch, his manager, afterwards said, some form of this isn't the kind of baseball we played. Steve, you brought up, this is not what the Tigers needed with Skubal going down for who knows how long. And this is Valdez, first season of his 3-year, $115 million contract. This is where he's supposed to step in and fill the void. And then we get this, and he's going to appeal the suspension and all that. 6 games. He's going to miss 1 start one way or the other.
Yes, and an update on Tyreek Skubal. I was reading this morning. He's planning on being back in 4 to 6 weeks. So it's the exact same operation that Edwin Diaz with the Dodgers went through. And we're hearing from day one, he won't be back till All-Star break time. But Skubal's going to pound this out in 4 to 6 weeks. I'm curious to see how that one goes.
All of these, I respect the hell out of it. All of these athletes and all of these sports with these expedited timelines. Mahomes is going to be back in week one. George Kittle's going to be back in week one, and Aaron Rodgers, and it's great as long as they actually genuinely do it and they do it healthily in a healthy way, and such. Because
And,
that's
and
really
And that's the big thing with Scooble. He's a free agent at the end of the year. I would hate to see him rush it back and cause other issues with his, throwing motion to cause additional stress on his elbow or his shoulder or something like that. And next thing we know, he's going through Tommy John or he tears his rotator or something like that because he's in line for a big contract. So I understand him wanting to get back on that mound and perform as soon as possible because it's probably 400 million reasons sitting there in that checking account. I just don't want him to see him rush back and cause any additional damage.
do players take into account, do you think, the likeliness that they're going to be locked out and there's probably not even going to be a season next year, or if there is, it'll be second half of the year? And I don't know how that affects, if he does, with Scooble's thought process. Does he think, I need to get back out there this year because I'm going to have more time if I need to recover more next year or something? Or is that just, am I just way overthinking this?
My guess is the owners already know. I think the owners already know. They've already been preparing for several years to have their coffers as full as it can be to help sustain them through this. And I think they know it's going to be a really long. I don't think the players necessarily do. I think some of them do. But on the whole, I think they're like, maybe we'll miss a little bit of the start of the season. I don't think in their minds, they're sitting there going, we're not even playing in 2027. I don't think that's hitting more than, 5% of the players in the league.
Is it arrogance? Do you think they'll never do that to us, or they just don't pay that close attention and let our rep guy work it out?
I think it's a combination of both. Look, don't bother with those details. Just keep me posted on what it is. I think their agents and the people negotiating aren't preparing them and saying, look, no matter what it is, if we're not budging on a salary cap, then we're not going to have a season. I don't think the union has come out with anything like that to prepare them because I don't know how it will affect the players this year if they're like, look, this is it. We aren't playing next year. So I don't think the players are anything close to that.
Did you think, by the way, back to the reason we brought all this up, a 6 game suspension for Valdez, did that feel right to you? Is that harsh? Is it not harsh enough?
I think 6 is right. The whole goal is to have him miss one start. He's not going to pitch in those other games. So you can't go 4 or 5 because there's teams that look at a 6-man rotation. So I think that's the reason that number 6 is they're like, even if they push him back a day, we want to make them push him back another day type of thing. So just it does have a little bit of an effect on the rotation. I would have liked to have seen an 8 game because then it really becomes difficult to push them back a start or 2. You get a rain out and it falls into your favor. You go to 8 and it's really going to be one full start regardless.
Did you think that what Valdez did by plunking the batter after back-to-back home runs, was that 8-game worthy just in and of itself? Is it that egregious?
I don't think any starting pitcher should get anything less than an 8-game suspension because, again, you can't have them manipulating them. An 8-game suspension for a player, I mean, you're missing 8 games. That'd be like telling a starting pitcher you're not going to get 8 starts in that sense. And I know you could say, oh, the starting pitcher is only going to get 32, so you can't kick out 25% of their starts for the season because that would be like you giving a player a 40-some game suspension, and we're not going to do that. But it needs to be one start.
No, I mean, and an 8-game suspension for a position player, that's 5% of your season. That adds up.
Yeah,
so that would be bigger.
And I don't remember the team or the player, but there was a player because they've kind of changed this. There was a player who was hurt. And so they allowed him to serve his suspension while he was hurt because they knew he wasn't going to pitch anyway. and then they brought him back, and the league's like, well, hold it a second. Or he then went on the disabled list because they're like, he's hurt. We're going to put him on the disabled list. And at that time, you could then come back and you worked as you served it. But now, any days that you're sent to the minors or on the disabled list or anything like that no longer count towards that suspension. So a team out there figured the way around it, and the teams will if you need them bad enough. But that's why I like the 8 because, hey, look, we just pushed back his start by a day. Big deal.
The Dodgers routed the Astros 12-2 yesterday. There's some other things with that. Starter Tyler Glass now allowed a solo homer in the first and then left the game with low back pain before the second. Dreyer came in and we had 6 relievers ultimately that held off Houston. So the Dodgers, they win 12-2. Both teams are off today. Dodgers are in first by a half game over the Padres. We'll start with Glass now and whatever he's doing and getting hurt, and the Dodgers ebbing and flowing. They've got all this pitching, and where is it and how's it doing? And what did you see with the Glass now injury?
Well, this is the luck of the Dodgers in that they have the money and the luxury that they have. Tyler Glass now, when he's healthy, is as good as anybody in the game. I mean, he's a candidate. If he were to ever stay healthy and throw 200 innings and get 30 starts, he would be a candidate to win the Cy Young. The Dodgers signed him in, big contract. Nobody was willing to give it to him because he's always hurt. What is whip this year is like 0.8. I mean, he's having another fantastic season and he goes down. But oh, look, is Blake Snell ready to come back up? Another guy who seems to get hurt a lot. So we'll just move Glasnow down. We'll bring up Blake Snell. We'll put him into that rotation, which is such a luxury no one else has. But that's why the Dodgers, in my mind, are favored to win the World Series again because they play for October. The rest of baseball has to play the regular season and hope they have that ability to play in October.
I remember this was a day game yesterday, and Steve broke the news live on the air that Shohei Ohtani had snapped his 0 for 18 skid with a double in the third inning. He added an RBI single in the fifth after that hitless streak that was the second longest of his career behind an 0 for 19 stretch because no one knows the troubles that Shohei has seen. Now, he goes 0 for 18. He gets a couple hits yesterday. That's not going to stop because we've been wondering where were they, and which angle are they going to take. Yesterday, Gabe Lacquez wrote an opinion piece published at usatoday.com. Has Shohei Ohtani peaked, putting his quiet start at the plate into perspective? And it is a deep dive essay about the underlying changes in Ohtani's stance. He's more efficient and more effective as a pitcher. The guy's making the case to get Ohtani out of the lineup. Make him a pitcher. Stop with the two-way thing because all we're seeing is the beginning of the end if we keep doing this. Little premature or no?
A lot premature. This is craziness. Weren't we talking about Ohtani here earlier in the season on his consecutive on-base streak at like 52 games or whatever it was? And it's still the same season. There's still only like 36 games into the season because it wrapped around from last year. Ohtani at 50% is still a better hitter than 50% of the league. Just let it go. Yes, I'd like to see him pitch and not hit on the days he pitch. But
That's it.
he's a phenom. We all want to watch it. He's must watch when he's at the plate or when he's on the mound because we've never seen anything like this ever. And that goes to Babe Ruth as much as I defend Babe Ruth, but they didn't have TV back then. So none of us have ever seen anything like this unless you owned Yankee season tickets, which wouldn't work because he was primarily a fielder at that time. So you had to own Red Sox season tickets, back in like 1917.
Other than needing content and clickbait and the everything has to be important right now thing, this whole idea that Ohtani has peaked is a sentiment, is a tribute to Ohtani. 0 for 18, and people are panicking, like we speculated they would. And which way would they go? Would they blame Dave Roberts for not letting him hit when he does pitch? Would they go this guy's route? Oh, just make him a pitcher. But sure enough, at 0 for 18, that's it. The sky is falling.
And I could be wrong, but I have to believe Tony Gwynn at some point went 0 for 18 in his career because it does happen. And it'd be nice if he never did. But it happens. We talk about this Aaron Judge every single year on April 15th. Oh, Aaron Judge is hitting 220. What's going wrong? We're 18 games into the season. Oh no, has he reached his peak? And he's done it. Aaron Judge will be fine. Shohei will be fine.
Now, all this came up because the Dodgers routed the Astros 12-2 yesterday. And I mentioned the Dodgers, they're off. Oh, the weekend of the series does start tomorrow, though, when they host the Braves. Delicious. We'll talk about that some more tomorrow. The Astros will open the series at Cincinnati tomorrow. But what of these Astros who cannot catch a break injury-wise, and they just continue to limp along, Steve? They're at 15-23, 8 games under 500, 4 games back in the AL West, a negative 37 run differential. It's actually one of their better weeks to be 5-5 in the last 10 games, and it's almost like you keep waiting for something good to happen to the Astros, and it doesn't seem like that train is showing up.
No, nothing good is going on with the Astros at all. You know, Carlos Correa now is out for the season. Injuries to that starting staff. I will give you one because I found one. I was searching for anything that would give the Astros any hope. And what I came up with is the Astros have the fewest blown saves of any major league team this season. Now, granted, they haven't had that many save opportunities because they're tied with the Red Sox for the fewest save opportunities, but the Astros have only blown one save opportunity all season, which shows how bad it's been. Them and the Red Sox have only had 9 save opportunities. And compare that to the A's. You know, the A's last night, and sorry to be jumping ahead of you, but the A's have had 21 save opportunities so far this season. They've blown 10 of them. And
Awesome.
Last night's added to it. But, you know, you got the Nationals, the A's that have blown 10 save opportunities. The Astros haven't even had 10 opportunities to this point in the season.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Paul Skeens. It was must-see TV, as it so often is with him. He struck out the side in the 8th, and that was his 97th pitch of the evening. Now, I watched most of this game. He was, if I got it right, he had a no-hitter after 4, and then he gave up the only 2 hits of his game because he threw 2-hit ball for 8 innings in the 5th. Pirates won 1-0 over the Diamondbacks, and I know. And it was, so he didn't have a no-hitter or anything. It was 1-0. In today's baseball, they're going to take Skeens out after 97 pitches. I wish they couldn't. I wish they wouldn't. They brought in Soto, who he was the closer for who a few years ago.
Gregory Soto's been around the league. He was at the Phillies most recently, I believe. Prior to that, he was with the Tigers.
So I get it. I think the Tigers maybe is where he had his 30 save season. I get it. He's been in the role, but he's not like they're close. Why are you bringing him in 1-0? Just let Skeens throw 7 more pitches. I know I'm barking at the wind. Point being, Skeens looked amazing yet again. I mean, he is artistry to watch. He really is.
That 100 pitch is taboo. We cannot get there, so we had to take him out. And I wish he had stayed in. I don't think he would have been out for the 7th or the 8th if this game was like 7-1. I think he would have gone there. I was glad to see he came out in the 7th. I was really happy to see he came out in the 8th, but you knew he wasn't coming out in the 9th.
And in fact, Paul Skeens, last year's Cy Young winner, he's never thrown a 9-inning complete game in his big league career, but he threw the 2-hitter last night, and the Pirates won, and the Pirates 5 games back in that National League Central where the Cubs just keep mowing along. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks 5 games back of the Dodgers. They're going to wrap things up today. In fact, about 40 minutes from now ish. First pitch, Mitch Keller and Zach Gallen go at it.
Yeah, Zach Gallen's been the ace of this team there for a little while. The Diamondbacks really struggling. They've won one of their last 6 games. Mitch Keller, good young pitcher. He throws hard. He can bring it. He's learned control over the last couple of seasons to make him one of the better pitchers. This game's pretty much sitting at pick'em, and it'll be who wins the series. The D-backs won the first game 9-0, shutting out Pittsburgh. So need to get a little offense going on both sides of the ball. And I'm going to bring in Connor Griffin. He's hitting the ball again. He started off, he's the phenom shortstop for the Pirates. Really struggled at the plate early on, but he's been turning around. He's up to like 266 now. So he's been hitting the ball really well the last, 7 to 10 days. And it's only a matter of time before he is now in that comparison with Ellie De La Cruz and these other great shortstop, McGonigal with the Tigers. He's going to be right with them. Right. You hit Witt as well. He's going to be one of the top shortstops for many, many, many years.
It is so funny. I realize this is like literally a lifetime ago. Late 80s, early 90s, shortstops were like, they were a joke almost. I mean, Ozzie Smith was amazing defensively. The rub always was, could he hit much? But for the most part, Johnny LeMaster for the Giants, and it was a big deal that Walt Weiss was the shortstop for the A's because he could hit over 250. And they were like a joke position. They were a defensive position. And now it's like every team has the best, like their best player is shortstop. It's amazing.
It's incredible the athletes that have come up at that position. Cal Ripken really changed that position when he came up because he was such a big shortstop. And prior to that, they didn't want the big guy, tall, playing shortstop because they didn't think they could do it. So they either moved him to the outfield or the third base. But Cal showed you could do it. You can be that size, play it. And there's been great shortstop play for the most part ever since Cal.
No, you're right. And that would make sense, right? So because Cal was right there on the front end of that time where I'm talking about late 80s, early 90s. So a lot of kids at that point were like, I want to be Cal Ripken. They're only 9 or 10. And sure enough, 10 years later, they're completely changing the position, and they have been now for 3 decades. All right, I mentioned the Cubs. Michael Busch drove in the winning run with a bases-loaded walk. Ooh, so exciting. Love watching a bases-loaded walk to end the game. Cubs beat the Reds 7-6. That's 8 in a row for the Cubs, although they did suffer a blow to their pitching staff. Matthew Boyd injured his left meniscus while playing with his kids at home. There you go. That'll teach you to be an absent father. You don't get hurt if you're not around. The 35-year-old will undergo surgery and be out for an undetermined amount of time. They do expect him back this season. So the good news, Cubs 8 in a row. Boyd's out for a couple months. And the Cubbies the Cubs are trying to pull away. They're trying. They're at 3.5 now over the Cardinals.
The Cubs streak is unbelievable. And on the Matthew Boyd, I don't think the Cubs are going to miss him that much because he's been out. He just came back. I think he's had 1, maybe 2 starts since he's come back. So he's going back on the DL. But last night's game, I mean, Crow Armstrong hits a 2-run homer with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th to tie the game up. I was watching it going, here we go again. They had a graph up before the inning started, just showing how many comeback wins and like games the Cubs have won when down by 2 or more runs into the 8th inning. It was incredible. You saw the home run. You watched the 9th inning. Looked like the Reds were going to get out of it. They walked the batter in front of him. They walked Bregman. I think it was Bregman. No, it was Suzuki. Because they walked Bregman to pitch to Happ, and Happ struck out. He was swinging for the moon. And then they walked Suzuki to load it, and Busch, and none of those pitches were close. It was like, I mean, the pitch they walked him and almost hit him. The pitch comes out of his hand, and I'm like, this game's going to be a walk-off hit by pitch. And you just, the Cubs are on a roll right now. It's incredible to watch. It's fun to watch, but they keep playing baseball. This is the team I thought that they would be the beginning of the season, and they stumbled out of the gate, but they have won, it seems like, for like 2 years in a row now. I mean, I know it's like, 13 out of 14 games or something like that, but they've been winning forever.
Top of the third in Chicago right now. The Cubs are up 1-0. This is the 4-game series finale. Rhett Lauder is on the mound for Cincinnati, and Imanaga is going for the Cubs.
Yeah, Imanaga's had a really good season to this point. Lauder's a good, young, promising pitcher. His last outing, though, just got shelled. He went like a little over an inning, gave up 8 runs. Hopefully he rebounds because he's a much, much better pitcher. He's one of the better young pitchers in the game.
Shane McClanahan extended his scoreless streak to 16 and 2/3 innings. The Rays beat the Blue Jays, finished their 3-game sweep. Rays have won 12 out of 13. I don't know what else you're supposed to say about this team, Steve. They're a half game behind the Yankees. The Rays have won 6 in a row, 9 of their last 10. They are not letting the Yankees get away from them. The Rays will start a 4-game series today. They are at Boston. They've got Griffin Jacks going against Jake Bennett.
Let's go, Boston. I believe in those trends reverse themselves. The Red Sox got to find a way to beat Jacks. He's an opener for the Rays here, so he's not part of that regular rotation. If the Red Sox can find a way to win, maybe all those wins the Rays have put up in a row, maybe they can turn into losses and the Red Sox can find a way to sweep the Rays. You know, I'm just clinging to anything I can for the Red Sox here. The Red Sox, Bennett's going for him. This will be, I believe, his second start. One of their better young pitching prospects. Had a nice outing in his first outing. Red Sox just got to keep hitting the ball. But the Rays, everyone contribute. This is such a team effort. I love watching them play. Nobody knows who any of these players, for the most part, are in this team or anyone in the staff. You know, McClanahan with the great outing. I think he's gone his last 3 outings and has not given up a single run in his last 3 outs. He's been hurt the last couple of years, so he hasn't been there. Many people didn't even consider him. He was one of the top pitchers in baseball prior to his injury. Looks like he is returning to form quickly.
McClanahan, 2 hits over 5 2/3 innings. That was his 3rd straight scoreless outing. Struck out 4 and walked 1. And then it's kind of like the Astros in a little bit of a different form. These flailing Blue Jays, they're off today, but they are 9 games back of the Yankees. They've lost 4 in a row. And I mean, the Astros, you point to them, you can go to the injuries. They weren't playing great anyways. The Blue Jays, well, everybody's got some injuries, but man, in recent memory, a team that was in the World Series being this wobbly early in May, I don't remember it in recent history.
Yeah, no, they are that wobbly. Alejandro Kirk, their all-star catcher, went down early in the season. He is still out. He's going to be a while. And you wonder if that affects the pitching staff as well, because, you know, as a catcher, it's not just how you can hit and play defense, it's how you call a game. Springer's back, but he had been injured early in the season and he had been out. So they just haven't been healthy. But those who have been, just they're not hitting. It's incredible how bad they are. They brought in Okamoto to play third base. He's hitting 246. He's got power, but you know he's not getting on base with a consistent. Just they're not a good team right now. You look at the lineup, and it's a shell of what we watched in the World Series last year.
The Giants are off today. The A's are going to wrap up their series in Philadelphia. Steve alluded earlier to the Phillies rallying to beat the A's 6-3 last night. Today, the A's throw Ginn out there. He's been pretty solid so far this year. Philly has Painter. This is the finale of the 3-game series tonight.
Yeah, the A's need to find a way to win this. They don't want to lose all 3. They're on the road right now, going to Baltimore after this. Springs, good game. I mean, it's just the bullpen gave it up. They gave up 4 runs in the last 2 innings to lose the game. Kind of a shame. I still always go to Nick Kurtz. First player that lineup in the box score I look at. 2 for 4. He's got his average up to 252. He's hitting the ball. And a guy I never speak about, Cortez, outfielder. This guy has been phenomenal. I mean, he is, until last year, he's been that journeyman minor league player, gets a little bit of a shot up in the majors. He came up the second half of last year and has hit, and he is just continuing to hit. He's hitting 372 for the A's, playing great ball, and he gets nothing. So I got to throw him a little bit of love there too.
Even though Jeffrey Springs, you're right, he threw okay yesterday. These two games against the Phillies have felt different as an A's fan watching than say. You remember at the very beginning of the season they got swept by the Blue Jays. But what I was impressed with, we hadn't seen anything from the A's. We'd heard a little bit of the hype was that it felt like I kept saying the A's belonged on the field with the Blue Jays. It looked like they could hang. Well, here we are, many weeks later. A's are doing a lot better than the Blue Jays. I'm not saying that they would continue to win in all these series, but they didn't look that way the last two nights. There was something watching them so much, and you can be a victim and you can be a help with this, right? When you watch the same team over and over again, sometimes you read too much into it. Sometimes you have enough insight to be able to go, "There's something missing here." And I'm not saying I'm right. Maybe it's my mood. It feels like the A's energy is off. It doesn't feel it like I feel like they're completely overmatched by the Phillies just because of their roster. And the Phillies stink.
Okay, a couple of things on that. One, I felt the A's were competitive. It was when they had to get into that bullpen. It's like the wheels started falling off and they couldn't stop the bleeding. That's where it seemed to hurt for me. I mean, what they give up the 5 runs in the 7th inning 2 nights ago. Last night they give up the 2 and the 2. It just that transition, starters getting tired into the bullpen, which has hurt them. And yes, the Phillies stink. The Phillies have won 8 of their last 9 of their last 11. Don Mattingly is the hero here. He's moving his way up that manager of the year in the National League as the Phillies are playing a different brand of baseball. They're starting to hit. They're getting good pitching. Painter tonight, he is one of their top prospects. They have not been high on a starting prospect since Aaron Nola came up for the Phillies several years ago. So he is another really promising young pitcher going for the Phillies.
By the way, just to mention it, probably the worst series so far of the year will wrap up today. The Mets and the Rockies. Good Lord. The Mets have won 3 in a row. They did beat the Rockies 10-5 last night. They're still mired. The Mets are in last place, 11 games back of the Braves in the East. The Rockies, meanwhile, have lost 6 in a row. They're still they're tied technically with the Giants, although the run differential is better. They're both in the basement in the National League.
Yeah, thank you, Colorado. Colorado started the season off pretty good, and they were winning at home. They're no longer winning at home. They're down to 7-11. But this is the Rockies team everyone expected to see this year. They are arguably the worst team in Major League Baseball. I put them even below the White Sox. And really now the White Sox have played pretty decent baseball, but going into the season, I thought the White Sox and the Rockies were the worst, and we're seeing the Rockies' true colors right now. So the Mets are very thankful. I'm curious how the Mets go to Arizona after this. Are they able to carry that over? Because the Diamondbacks are struggling, as we talked about a little bit earlier. And the Diamondbacks aren't going to be this easy of a walkover as the Rockies have been.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. MAP, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com. Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040. Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show. Call the show at 888-587-5355 or email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Well, this is just getting more and more stupid. So we had to go through 2 months of the NFL draft and the build-up to it and all the various mock drafts. So ESPN just dropped at ESPN.com their most likely picks for every NBA lottery team. Now, if you're a fan at all, you're going, wait, how can that be possible? The draft isn't even, the lottery isn't even until this Sunday. Right. The lottery is Sunday at noon Pacific time. It'll broadcast on ABC and ESPN. I'm sure it will not be as compelling as the NHL lottery that you described to us so well, Steve.
I love it. I probably will not watch the draft lottery for the NBA. The media's rushed to be first, not necessarily correct. For me, this just shows this article. This should be an article that was written and distributed like Sunday afternoon after the draft or Monday, but we got to have it out now. And, I'm taking this player because I got the first pick of the draft. Oh, nope. My pick dropped to 12. So maybe the player I wanted will slide to 12, at which point we're criticizing the team going, you would have taken that person in the first pick of the draft and you're able to get him at 12. Your personnel and draft experts aren't doing a very good job.
The whole premise of the article is beyond stupid because the way they do it is they're using the mathematical odds of the teams that are most likely based on number of balls and all that to get the number one pick. And they're just going in order. They're saying, okay, we know historically it never matches up that way. They're just saying, okay, in fact, here, because mathematically there's like 3 teams that all have the same percentage to be the number one pick, but then there's tie-breaking things that they use. So the Wizards, the Pacers, and the Nets are all at 14% likelihood that they'll get the number one pick. And that's the order they went in. They went Wizards, Pacers, Nets for the first 3 because of the tiebreakers. And then they tell you who each of those teams is going to pick. So the premise is wrong. We don't know the Wizards are picking first. They're just giving the Wizards the first pick because the lottery is. Oh my god.
And I'm going to go out on a big limb here. Really live dangerously.
Okay.
I'm going to say, what is it? 16 slots. I think it's safe to say that it will not fall in exactly their odds of getting that pick for the entire lottery draw. It's not going to happen. There's going to be one team at least that moves in that lottery from the spot they're supposed to end up in.
Now, with the teams that are in it and the balls and stuff, do you have your NBA Patrick Ewing conspiracy theory already ready? Like if such and such a team gets it, come on, I've had it with this.
You're going to force me to watch it to see if they've copied the NHL's version, which I thought was great. I think any league should use that same thing because it takes any conspiracy theory away with it. And, you have X amount of balls. Well, drop them in there and have your number on them and then just go and pull four numbers out, not one. And if I'm right, they don't even like do it in public. They do it behind and they come out and they reveal, if I remember right, okay, this is pick 12. And they open the envelope. Okay. Oh, look at that. This team we know has moved up. How far did they move up? And again, though, it's not transparent. We don't watch the whole thing. And that was one of the beauties of the NHL draft is it had all the transparency you want and it showed it and it kept me entertained.
So, what's the team? Because the way this works, there's teams because of trades or whatever that actually have a shot mathematically at that number one pick. Like, for example, granted, it's only 1.5%, but OKC has a chance.
Wouldn't it be awesome if they got that 1.5%? How much screaming would come out? I think the NBA, when they did it, if it turned out to be OKC, I think they'd throw their card back in the envelope and just say, no, we don't even want to deal with this conspiracy. Sorry, OKC, you had it, but we're not permitting it to happen.
All right. Okay. What about there's a 2% chance for the Warriors to get the number one pick?
I think that has possibility, especially if Kerr's coming back. Maybe he wants to see the lottery draft and see how much the NBA supports him.
Speaking of Steve Kerr, what about the Bulls? They have a 4.5% chance.
And maybe he jumps. Hey, look, I'll get the number one pick now with the Bulls. So he's going to hold off on his decision until at least after Sunday so he can weigh his options on if he wants to coach next year and if he does, where.
This is so silly. It's the Thursday before the lottery, and this will be the story. Okay.
And you got to love that we're just throwing stuff against the wall. I mean, there is no rhyme or reason for any of it. It's just you and I both love the chaos, so we're just adding to it.
I mean, of the top five, right? Of the five mathematically most likely to get the number one pick, is anyone going to care? Ultimately, like between the Kings, the Jazz, the Nets, the Pacers, and the Wizards. I mean, other than the fan base, isn't everybody going to go, okay, whatever?
I think the Pacers sitting there. I mean, this is a team that was in the NBA Finals, lost Halliburton, fell down, said we're going after the pick. I think that would launch them to be really good. At a certain point, don't the Wizards have to start being good? I mean, I put them in that Detroit Pistons camp. You keep picking in the top five these players for 10 years in a row. At a certain point, doesn't someone or a couple of players have to materialize into quality players in the NBA to make you decent? I'm not saying like you got to win the East like the Pistons. I'm just saying decent.
Now, Mother's Day is Sunday. So my mom is actually coming up this evening for a quick little mother-son stay for a couple days for Mother's Day weekend. I know she's very excited that there are two NBA playoff games tonight because there's nothing she loves more than the squeaky sounds of the sneakers on the hardwood. And you can be sure she's going to be oh so excited when I roll out the Mom, I host a sports show excuse. I've got to watch it. Sorry. Now, Would you agree with this assessment, Steve? This was a story I saw this morning on NBA.com. The Detroit Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're your early game, 4 o'clock tonight. You got to have Prime, by the way, for these games. Losing this game and falling behind 2-0 would put the Cavs in a tough spot, especially on the heels of the 7-game series against Toronto. They're a little winded. For the Pistons, get that 2-0 lead, puts them in control, gives them room for error heading to Cleveland this weekend, demonstrate that the Pistons have learned lessons from their own 7-game opening round against Orlando to show more of a commanding attitude. I had this guy's name because I really like what he wrote about a lot of things, and that's a good assessment. It's not quite a nail in the coffin moment, but boy, can the Pistons make this theirs to lose if they just pull this out today.
And I agree with that. They have to. You have to defend your home court. Going up 2-0 here gives them that room for when they do botch a game on the road or to still be able to stay in command of that series. Jared Allen has to step up, though. I mean, his last game, he was great at the end of that prior series. He's got to return to the Jared Allen that we all know and start dominating inside. If not by scoring any points, I'm not even saying, but playing strong defense and getting rebounds. 3 rebounds is, I think, what he had in the last game. That's unacceptable from your point guard, let alone from your big man who's supposed to be clogging up the middle.
Now, it seems like the mass reaction from game 1 is that OKC showed just how much they outclass the Lakers. Now, whether that's true or not, that seemed to be the reaction, is that a lot of people went, oh yeah, they can't. Like you didn't even get a lot of that whole yet. It was only 1 game. Well, if Reeves and Luka were there and healthy and had been, it'd be a different story. I'm not saying that won't happen eventually, but the initial reaction was, wow, they really got plummeted. So the NBA.com story this morning was the things the Lakers need if they're going to do anything in this series, and there are 3 things, which I thought was funny the way they did it. Was Reeves scoring is necessary. He came back, he didn't have a great game. Again, he's got to get back in and into the thing. So they need Austin Reeves to score. They need what you've pointed out, Steve, all of the others behind LeBron to keep doing what they had been doing, pulling their weight, stepping up, etc. But then the third thing that NBA.com wrote that the Lakers need is Luka back, which isn't going to happen. And they actually said that. They said that's the only way. And I know you think that even with Luka healthy and in the whole thing, you didn't think the Lakers were going to do it anyways. And that's certainly not true now. Luka would just gum up the works. And word is he's not. There's no chance of that anyways. Is it going to be as bad as is it sweep worthy yet to talk about this?
It's hard for me to say sweep worthy. I do think the Lakers are outclassed here. Yesterday we were talking on this line. It was at 15.5. It's down to 15. So, hey, look, people are optimistic. They're giving the Lakers a little bit of a chance, but not that many people, because otherwise you'd see this line have dropped down to 14 or something like that. I didn't think even healthy. You took the end of March. We talked about it. I didn't see the Lakers beating the Thunder at that time. I would have maybe given them 1 game, 2 maximum, and push into a 6-game series would have been in my mind, a big difficult for me to get there. Healthy Luka, healthy Reeves. I don't think the Lakers do any damage to the Thunder. And we watched it. I thought the Thunder did not play a good game. I mean, SGA had some turnovers. They came out of the gate a little bit slow. The Lakers were up like halfway through the first quarter, looking good. I thought it was a poor game by the Thunder, and they still won by like 18, 19 points.
And you could absolutely claim this is a wild overreaction on my part, and I'm fine with that. To me, it's not, because we do have the body of work over the last few months and saw, whether it moved Steve at all or not, an amazing march from the Lakers compared to what happened when Reeves and Luka disappeared. And then there were these times where LeBron put everybody on their back. How long can you run with that, etc. My wild overreaction is, Steve, are the Lakers even going to win a game? I mean, if they were, tonight might be the night because they're in LA, and I just don't even know if they're going to win a game.
No, tonight they're in OKC. They don't go back till game 3 and game 4 will be in LA. I think if they're going to win one, they're going to find a way to win one of those 2. I'm not sure they will. And the playoffs are different. And so right now, even if the Lakers sweep, we know this series has to go like 5 games, 6 games. People aren't really talking about it right now. LeBron is getting tired. If this series goes 7 and they find a way to win, then they go on to the next series against the winner of the Timberwolves Spurs. If they're as great as everybody says and the Lakers find a way, Luka comes back, chances are that series is going to go 6, 7. I I know LeBron has defied his aging just like Tom Brady did, and it's great for the game. It's great to watch, but there is that part of reality I think we've really seen in LeBron in the last couple of years that age is catching up to him, and the longer these series go that they stay in it, the more he's going to wear down, and I think it's already showing.
As for last night, playing without the injured Joel Embiid, the Sixers put up a far better fight. I mean, the game one against the Knicks, it was 137-98. At least this one, they only lost by 6. No moral victories, especially in the playoffs. Knicks beat the Sixers 108-102. They've got the 2-0 lead in the East. At least there was a game there. 25 lead changes, the most in a playoff game in 11 years. 14 ties rather during the game. Neither team led by more than 7 points at any time. It's so the Knicks, they completely just steamrolled the Sixers in game one, and a lot wondered how much of that is how tired the Sixers were. Oh, well, now Embiid's out. He didn't even play, and the Sixers took it to him. If you're going to have hope that there's a series here, that's what it is that the Sixers could hold with the Knicks, and I don't know, Steve. This is another one that feels to me like it's Knicks to lose.
It is the Knicks to lose, and even if Embiid plays, I still don't think the Knicks are going to lose this series. We saw yesterday that look, the Sixers are comfortable playing without Embiid. They did it most of the season. We saw what they could do. They made the playoffs. They're a pretty good team. Edgecombe has had a fantastic rookie season, but the disappointing part, they matched the Knicks toe to toe. Is like the last 4 minutes or whatever it is. I mean, the Sixers ended the game, I think, like 0 for 5, 0 for 6, or whatever it was. And that was the problem. They just couldn't finish. They were tied. They were right with them all the way to the end, and they missed. And maybe they made their last bucket, but I thought they missed like their last 5 or 6 shots and just, couldn't find the hole.
By the way, the news about an hour ago was that forward Anunoby has been diagnosed with a right hamstring strain. He's day to day. He'll be listed as questionable for Game 3 tomorrow. He did a gingerly walk off yesterday, but that one just came in.
And if that turns into being a lot more than a day to day, then the Knicks, that changes this series as well because OG is such a big part of this team. They need him playing well. And if he goes out, the Sixers become a little bit easier. And the Pistons and the Cavs are looking at it going, sweet. If OG is going to be out for our series, whoever wins that one, that sets them up even better too.
And we don't know exactly where Embiid is going to be through this process, but remember, so tomorrow night they're back in Philly, and Embiid's the one that posted the big video that went viral imploring all the Philly fans, don't sell any of your tickets to the games in Philly to Knicks fans. I don't know exactly how we're going to adjudicate that, but he said, don't do it. So he'll get to see the fruits of his labor tomorrow and Saturday when they're back or here maybe.
It all went away when he was announced he was out. All those fans that were going to follow his guidance said, he's out now. Let's sell our tickets. I got to get something for it.
Meanwhile, before the game last night, Minnesota Timberwolves superstar Anthony Edwards relayed a warning that he gave to his teammates. He said the natural tendency for teams that steal the first game, like the T-Wolves did, the away team is to then get blown out in game 2. We cannot come out cool. This is what he said to his teammates before his team, the T-Wolves, went out and got blown out by the Spurs. 133-95. In fact, the T-Wolves scored only 17 in the first quarter, 18 in the second quarter. They turned the ball over 22 times. They were down by 24 at the half. So Anthony Edwards, amazing player, maybe not the best motivational speaker. They didn't take his message to heart.
but I'm very pleased to see that he does pay attention to history. He does follow these things because he called it. This is what's going to happen, and they went. I wish I would have known that. Maybe I'd have gone and put some money down on the Spurs with the T-Wolves getting blown out like they did. But the Spurs played a great game. I mean, Wembanyama didn't have all the blocks, and I didn't get to see the very start of the game, so I don't know if. As I said, I wanted to see him just swat the first 5 shots out of the sky. We'll get goaltending, but I'm just going to swat him out here to keep that presence. But he had a nice game. And Champagny, this guy lit it up. Like, he wasn't missing there for a while. He was hitting everything he put up for shots. But Wolves, this is their problem. They disappear at times and they're as bad as anyone in the league when they don't show up. And last night was another case of it.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
Longtime advertiser Sue Berry, that's Berry with an A, is more important now than ever. Sue and her team have been serving Northern Nevada and the outlying areas for 30 years, and her experience in both commercial and residential lending is vital, as every day we're bombarded with news of interest rates, the market, the economy, and a bunch of other stuff that Sue can actually make sense of while everyone else's eyes glaze over. Now remember, it's Sue Berry with an A, B-A-R-R-Y, SueBerry.com. Most people think berry is spelled like a fruit or Halle Berry, but no, it's Sue Berry with an A, like soul singer Barry White's first name.
I've heard people say,
Stop that. Sue is a broker versus a retail lender, which means she can shop over 150 different lenders to get you the very best rate possible. And on average, someone who uses a broker like Sue saves over $10,000 per loan, which includes refinancing. And if you have a rate at 6.5% or higher, call Sue for a free quote now on a refinance. Sue Berry and her incredible team from Barrett Financial can be found at SueBerry.com. That's Berry with an A. I've been working with Sue and recommending her to you for years. All you need to do is call her now so she can get you pre-approved. Just call your residential and commercial lending expert, Sue Berry, at 775-843-9983. Oh, Rob, stop. You're going too fast. What was the number again? 775-843-9983. Or just head to SueBerry.com. The number's right there. Berry is B-A-R-R-Y. Sue Berry with an A.com. That's Sue Berry, B-A-R-R-Y.com. SueBerry.com.
Disclaimer, Sue Berry, NMLS number 366040. Barrett Financial Group, LLC, NMLS number 181106, Nevada 5091, Equal Housing Opportunity.
Longtime maggots will remember Greg from MAP. M-A-P, as in Maximum Athletic Performance, which guides you to better output through better ingredients, also known as nutrition. Greg has been on the Rad Show many times and will be again, as he simplifies nutrition and helps us all understand what actually works when it comes to fueling our bodies, almost all of which can be found at maptrition.com. Every product is formulated with clinical precision and backed by science and purpose, and maptrition.com has something for every fitness level, even those of us who barely have a fitness level. With nearly 20 years as a nutritionist and a specialization in sports nutrition, Greg works with athletes and everyday individuals to optimize performance, energy, and overall health through smarter fueling strategies, all of which starts at maptrition.com. At the very least, we should all be taking daily multivitamins, and Greg has his formulated for exactly what a man or woman's body needs. Protein is in, but maybe instead of getting yours from mac and cheese with extra protein, you get it from maptrition.com. And of course, all things workout, training, and exercise are available as well. From pre-workout to creatine and other muscle builders to recovery supplements and more, all at maptrition.com. From morning breakfast essentials to post-workout recovery and everything in between, maptrition.com's full range of supplements, proteins, and wellness products are built to power your journey from start to finish. Check out all the products and find what's right for you and order it shipped to you, all at maptrition.com. That's maptrition.com.
At the Rob and Steve Sports Show, we only support responsible sports betting and gambling. With that said, According to Rob's favorite Chinese restaurant, your lucky numbers today are 12, 14, 17, 20, 28, and 36. Good luck. Email us your results at ras@theradnetwork.com.
Breaking news update, least surprising, perhaps. Breaking news update of the week. No. It is not confirmation that Aaron Rodgers is re-signing with the Steelers, although we expect that any day now. He's supposed to be in Pittsburgh hammering out a deal. No, we talked about this earlier this week. It's official now. The men's and women's NCAA basketball tournaments are expanding to 76 teams. It has just been announced. First time the men's tournament has expanded since 2011. From 68 to 76 teams means the men's tournament's largest increase since it moved to 64 back in 1985. So the increase means the first four, those are the doubleheaders on back-to-back days in Dayton, will be replaced by a 12-game opening round. We talked about the Tuesday and Wednesday now of the men's tournament will feature 12 games played by 24 teams in 2 different cities. There will now be 3 games each day in Dayton and 3 games each day in a second city yet to be determined. So all the women in my life that watch CBS are going to be so much more mad because everything's not on during the day. But it is all signed, sealed, basically delivered. We all knew it was coming, and we're at 76.
And I'm really curious to see the viewership on that Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right? It's just not compelling. Not like we talked about before, the tradition of Thursday. Come on, I can figure out a way to call it sick or call it on Friday and catch Thursday. It's a week at Tuesday. And like you said, the very first time I texted you this story before we even talked about it, like, guess what? Teams 77 through 80 are going to be pissed. You can keep the number going up.
Yep. First 4 out. Oh, they all had a legitimate case. They were 500 on the season. And so maybe they should have been in.
What? We know the answer is money. What's the stated reason for going to 76? Because like in football, I know they're working on the player safety and conference championships and all. What's the stated reason for going to 76 teams here?
I don't think there could be anything other than money. I can't even give you a second possibility there.
Yeah, all right. Well, I don't see one mentioned, so I think maybe they're not even hiding it. Good for them. Philadelphia Flyers center Noah Cates will miss the rest of the series against the Carolina Hurricanes. Might be lucky. Flyers come home for their series against the Hurricanes tonight. They've lost the first 2 in Raleigh. He had a lower body injury. That's the best. When I started getting into hockey, I go, so this is just a thing. It's just lower body injury. Yes. So he's done. He's out. It ain't going to matter, is it, Steve?
No, it's not going to matter. The Flyers, I give them credit, and I'd like to see how they come out this game because in game 2, they played well. They came out fired up. They were aggressive. They went at it. Got beat in overtime, which was kind of a shame because they played as good a hockey as they could play. They're at home here. Will they have that same intensity? They're about $1.60 dog. I don't think they can win this series, but I like the effort. And one of the things I do love about hockey, upper body injury and lower body injury. That's it. They don't tell you if it's an elbow, a knee, a toe, a heel. I love it. Just lower body injury. We're done.
First time I saw it, my reaction was, well, that's a little vague. And then you explained it to me. I'm like, okay, all right, because they don't know where to target.
Again, I swear, everything the NHL does, I love. I wish the other leagues would catch on and start following what the NHL does.
Carolina and Philadelphia, the only game tonight. That's on TNT at 5 o'clock with Carolina up 2 games to none. Now, the Cinderellas, the Buffalo Sabres defeated the Canadiens 4-2 last night in game 1 of their second-round playoff series. Buffalo will host game 2. They go back to Montreal over the weekend. We talked yesterday, Steve. There's always going to be an element of hockey fans, especially, who are going to root for whatever Canada team is still there because Canada. And the Sabres they haven't been there and they've stunk, and now they're there the first time in 15 years. And we talked about, can they take the Canadiens? And you expect a really great series here.
I do. And the Canadiens threw everything at them. I mean, they outshot them 28-16, but go to the, power play goals. The Sabres had 2 power play goals and 3 tries. The Flyers can't be doing that and giving up those those goals if they expect to win. But another great game. I expect every game in this series to be great.
Uh, what about the Ducks beating your Las Vegas Golden Knights 3-1 to even their series at a game apiece? They're headed back to Anaheim tomorrow night. You were feeling better about the Golden Knights. Is this another ultra competitive series that you expect to go close to 7?
Yeah, it's going to be a competitive series there. The Ducks played great defense. I mean, they stepped it up. They shut the Knights down. And Dostal is a really good goalie. Gonna be another tough series. My wife, and I'm gonna get on the pay-per-view thing here. Sorry, I'm gonna take it a little bit. But
By all means.
my wife calls me up and she's like, "Hey, where are the Knights? What channel is it on? I can't find them." And I'm like, "Oh, well, look, they're on TNT last night. TNT are true." And she's like, "Do we get them?" And I'm like, "No, we don't get that. But, if you have HBO Max or some of these others, you can get it that way." And she's like, "Do we get those?" And I'm like, "No, we don't get those either." And she goes, "You know, I watch baseball and hockey pretty much every night." And I'm like, "I know. And I'm not even there and you're watching it." I go, "There's basketball." And she goes, "I'm not watching basketball. I watch hockey and I watch baseball." So she called up my daughter to see if she had some place she could get it. And my daughter told her no. So she was not happy with me when I got off work and I called her up to see how her day went because she's like, "Nope, I didn't get to watch the Knights." And so, yes, that's the world I get to live in.
Any chance of just expanding the plan at home? I mean, hockey, there's only a little bit left, but baseball.
Yeah, there's a little bit left. My daughter used to purchase YouTube TV, which is where we were watching the games. But without the football season, we're going to save some money because we have to have it come the football season. So they canceled their plan a couple weeks early. I think my wife would have said, "Hey, look, I'll pay your YouTube bill for the next month just to make sure that I get to watch the Knights." But at that point, it already moved on. And I love the fact that my wife watches sports even when I'm not home. I'm not even in the same city, and she's spending her nights watching baseball and hockey.
That's outstanding. Now you keep saying, so we had the lottery a couple days ago, and you said it again today. Everything the NHL, sorry, does I love, and isn't that true as well? Kind of, sort of. And I remember if you equate it most to what baseball needs, but when it comes to their collective bargaining agreement, there was a big announcement late yesterday. The NHL salary cap will climb to $104 million next season. That's an $8.5 million increase per team, obviously. Teams were informed of the new figures by the NHL and the Players Association last night. The increases are calculated based off the prior year's financials in joint hockey-related revenue. Theory being open books, Players Association sees it, League Association sees it. Here's the numbers. Here's what we agreed to. All right, salary cap goes up. That means there's more money for players. Boom. Starting next season. This is the thing that I know you harp on a lot. I don't know, both sides or one side. They have a maximum salary in the NHL. The maximum salary for a player next season will be $20.8 million. The highest paid player right now is the Wild's Kaprizov, who's got $17 million per extension that kicks in next season. So somebody can go over that. The floor, there's a floor in hockey, which will be $76.9 million. I assume that's the minimum that a team has to spend. What if they don't? What happens if a team doesn't? I don't know why you wouldn't, but you get fined, penalized.
I don't know what happens. I've never heard of a team not meeting the floor. And I'm curious, if the cap went up 8.5, how far up did the floor raise as well? And I'm hoping that raised at least 6 million from what it was the prior year. But through the whole thing, as you were saying, it's full transparency to everyone. They open the books up. This is the financials of the league. The teams see it, the owners see it. There's no questions. There's no hiding anything. I love it about the NHL, and I love the floor. Baseball needs to go to floor. I think every sport needs to get a floor. You talk about how you want the players to get paid, but the top end is so overloaded, get paid so much money, and they never take care of the rest. I would like to see, and that's what I love about the NHL, the floor. And I mean, it was 76 million last year, or that's what it's going to be this year. So you're talking 76 on the low, 104 million on the top. You're talking 28 million difference between the team that spends the most money and the teams that spends the least amount of money. Even doubling it. Wouldn't it be nice if baseball only had a $56 million difference between the top spending baseball team and the lowest spending baseball team? But we have, well, with deferred contracts and the Dodgers at like 500 million. But even where you're at, you got $300 million spending teams and you got teams spending like 70 million. That's nowhere near appropriate.
Now, the salary cap increase of $8.5 million is another promising sign for hockey's growth. The NHL has just had its most watched first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, to your question, Steve, so last year, the salary cap was 95, high 95, almost $96 million. So going to 104 million, that's an $8.5 million increase this year. The floor for this season, whatever, was 70.6, and it's now going to 76.9 million. They're almost identical. They're within $1 million of each other,
which is great. That's what it should be.
And that's why I said it when I said it, is I don't know why you wouldn't spend the floor at least, because that's the minimum. There's got to be something in place. But like you said, why would nobody's probably ever done it, as to why a team wouldn't at least spend the floor to put a team on the ice.
And if I'm the commissioner and this is it, and a team comes 20 million under the floor, I fine them 25 million. 20 million the difference, so you're going to have to pay it, and I'm going to give you the 5 million penalty so that you don't do it going forward. So you're going to spend it because I'm going to cost you more money in fines than you would have spent on your team in the first place, and that's how you deter it.
There's got to be something in there too, because the players association would want a piece of that. They're like, hey, you're not paying one of us, kind of thing.
Right.
I'm sure it's in there. So yeah, there has to be
the players association's probably policing it. Okay, what are you getting paid? What your contract is? Your union reps keeping track of it to make sure that everybody hits the league minimum for the team. And then okay, good, we're all right. And if they're not, they turn it in, and a league of one of the union reps goes in and hey, you're not hitting the right cap.
Now, if you segue this over to baseball, and the smart money is lockout in December, the owners are going to say, we got way too much to talk about, and who knows if we're even going to have baseball next year. The thing we keep hearing, and I'm not saying it's right, but everybody says, quote, on both sides, it's all about a salary cap. And it's 50% of people say there is no way there's going to be a salary cap, and there's 50% of people saying there's no way there's baseball without a salary cap. They're going to have to figure it out. Given that as the basis of how staunch, I mean, the Major League Baseball Players Association is probably the most powerful union in the country, let alone the world, all thanks to Don Fear. Look it up. And could a system like what you're proposing, like what the NHL does, even work in Major League Baseball? Would they even consider it?
I think it would work. And where I would appeal to the players is, yes, there is a salary cap that affects 5 to 10% of you players, because only the superstars are the ones getting the mega contracts. You other 90% of the players, once you reach a certain amount of salary, the team's going to dump you and bring in another young kid because they're not going to want to pay that salary. So we're actually looking at, by bringing in a floor, we're looking to protect the other 90% of you players who every vote is the same. It isn't like Derek Jeter gets 30 votes and Walt Weiss gets 1 vote. They all vote evenly. And if you sell it properly to the players, as we're taking care of the players as a whole, it's not about the ego of the few elite to get the $500, $600, $700 million contracts, because none of you are ever going to get that. But when you deserve to have a $5 or $6 million contract, but the team has reached it because they're paying a couple of superstars on your team. So when the team now is saying, look, I can't afford to give you those $5, $6 million contract, I'm going to go with the rookie and bring him up because I can get him for $600,000. That's where the problem is. And you see it all the time in the off seasons if you pay attention to it, because you will see, oh, this player was non-tendered a contract because the if he goes to arbitration, he's estimated to win like $6 million in his arbitration, and the team doesn't feel that he's a valuable enough player to paying that amount of money. So I appeal to the 90% of the players that, look, we are going to take care of you. Stop allowing the high paid players to dictate everything else for the league.
By the way, one quick other update, labor related. No update, but today is the day the NFL reps are supposed to be voting on a collective bargaining agreement so that you'll have your regular reps. What we don't know is whether or not technology is included in the deal or has it been taken out, which is what one report had. There's also another report that says the NFL is insisting on having a bench of officials and hold you to account and maybe put you on the bench and bring somebody up. No word on if they voted or how that went. We'll let you know tomorrow when we'll be back.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So don't